Lama, right? Anytime there's someone that people value, there's like long lines. If Chaim Kanievsky, anytime he left his house, there were like tens of people waiting. Can I ask a question? Can I get a bracha? Right? So that was Yishai, and Yishai's sons were also held in high regard. And David, go watch the sheep, right? So they wanted David out of the way because he was an embarrassment. So David grows up in that environment. And his mother keeps telling him, you're kosher, you're okay. Meaning the one person who boosts him up is his mother, but the rest of the family, when they'd have family conversations, when they'd sit and learn, so they'd say, David, go be with the sheep. Right? So David, what was the pasuk he said, right? He says, Hashem tamim vayater tamim darki. Hashem gave me such a perfect path for life. Really? Really, that's quite a childhood, right? So David HaMelech grows up in that environment, and then the day comes. It's his royal day, right? Shmuel shows up, and Shmuel invites Yishai. They're having a very respectable feast. All the elders are there, and Shmuel asks Yishai to show up with his children. So Yishai knows, right? They don't call David. They leave him out with the sheep, right? They have this festive meal, and Shmuel says, I want to meet, Yishai, come with all the kids. So they show up, and his children are very impressive, right? Even Shmuel's impressed, one by one. And each time they walk in, Shmuel's impressed. And each time Hashem says, that's not it, right? Pass, pass, pass. And then Shmuel says, Hatamu anarim, have I met all your kids? At which point, everyone's face goes down. They're like, this is it. This is the moment we've been dreading our whole lives. Now Shmuel's going to tell us the truth. The Navi's here. And so they say, there's another one, but not so important. And Shmuel says, no, I'm not leaving till you bring him here. So they summon David from the sheep. And David walks into the room, and here he is, red-skinned, and he seems like he's flaring. He's got this angry look to him. His skin color is literally red, admoni. And when Shmuel looks at him, he doesn't want to look at him. He looks away. He thinks Esav just walked into the room, right? Shmuel's first inclination is, that's Esav who walked in. And the Ramon Shalom says to him, get up! What are you sitting for? That's the king of Israel. How dare you sit? And Shmuel starts saying, why? That? To which Hashem says, Im yefei einayim, you're not looking into his eyes. He might have the ability to take down all his enemies, but he's only going to do it with Yefei Einayim, with the correct eyes of the Jewish people, with the halacha, with the Torah, with the Sanhedrin. He's not going to kill anyone unless he's supposed to. You have to. He's the one I've chosen. So, what a smooth life, right? So you think life is going good for David, right? Everything's great. He's going to go out and take on Goliath. Of course, before he goes out to take on Goliath, he gets another little shtuch from his big brother. Where are you, you so irresponsible? I know your evil heart. You came out here just to see battle. You're thirsting, right? First his brother knocks him, and he tells him, go back. Who'd you leave the sheep with, right? And then he goes out and he kills Goliath, right? So seems like a sweet victory, right? Right afterwards, the king wants him dead. Right? So things get turned sour right away. Right? His victory is short-lived because right away, Shaul hears people praising David more than him, and he's intent on getting David dead. So he says to David, you want to? I want you to succeed against my enemies. I'll give you my daughter Meirav. I have a daughter Meirav. You just be a dedicated soldier. Prove yourself. So he's hoping that David's going to go out on a limb and risk things and get killed. And David keeps succeeding. So on the date that it's agreed he should have a wedding, right? Life is smooth, David says. Right? Ata, what did he say? He said, Hashem, you gave me the smooth path. So on his wedding day, Shaul arranges a wedding with another guy. Right? And David gets to hear that the girl that he was just going out risking his life to battle for, she just married someone else. What a smooth path. And then Shaul says, I have another girl. You'll marry my other daughter, Michal. That one's going to work out right? Shaul says, you bring me 100 foreskins of the Philistines, I'll give you my daughter Michal. And David comes in with 200 foreskins, shows he killed 200 Philistines in battle. And then he marries Michal. But then King Saul tries to kill him again and again and again. And then he goes on a run. And then King Saul takes his wife Michal and gives her to another man, Palti ben Laish. And he gives a halachic ruling that being that King David married her with a debt that King Saul had promised him a lot of money together with his daughter. And David said to Michal, you're going to have all that wealth that your father owes me when you'll be my wife. So King Saul says that equals marrying a woman with a loan. And if you marry a woman with a loan with money you don't have on hand, then the marriage is disqualified. So he convenes a court and he rules that David is no longer married to his daughter. And he invites the big tzaddik Palti ben Laish and he says, you are hereby married to my little daughter, Michal. And now David asked, what a smooth path, So now David takes his family and he's worried. So he takes them to the Moabite king and he tells him, watch my dad and my brothers because I'm on the run and everything, I need you to be on top of it. Now, that works great. That works great for about 3-4 days or a month or two until David shifts away. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Until David shifts away from proximity to the Moabite king, and then his whole family is assassinated. The Moabite king kills everyone. And what does David say? Rabbonu Shalom, you gave me a smooth path in life. Right? Stop and ask yourself. The story hasn't even begun yet. Right? We said we tell the story of David HaMelech. Well, the story hasn't begun. Right? David's on the run. His own father-in-law has given his wife to another man, second time. He's every minute now he's trying to kill him, and we'll skip forward. He's king. Life's good, right? Oh, so his one son, we'll skip maybe parts of the story. His one son, Amnon, violates his daughter Tamar. That's not such a good life, right? His daughter Tamar is violated by his own son, Amnon. Amnon is his eldest son who should really be the heir to the throne. And then Amnon is assassinated by his next son, Avshalom. That's not such a good life. And then his baby dies, right? I skipped. He loses a baby, right? Hashem says, you took Bathsheba, you shouldn't have married her. So his son dies. And then his son, Avshalom, leads a rebellion against him. And then he breaks out in leprosy. And then he loses his prophecy. And then the majority of the people of Israel turn against him. And then his nephew, Yoav, reveals a private letter between the two of them that turns the whole army against them, against David. And what does David HaMelech say? Rabbonu Shalom, a smooth path, right? You gave me a smooth path in life. He says, right? Hashem was a tar vayater tamim darki. Hashem, you planned the perfect tamim, the perfect path for my life. What's so perfect about it? Show me. So he makes it back to his throne, and he discovers that his wives that he left behind were violated, and now he has to separate from them for the rest of his life. And then he falls ill, and he can't get warm. He's shivering. He can't heat himself, and that's the smooth path of life. And then his next son, Adoniah ben Chagit, leads a rebellion. That's a smooth path. So the question is, what are we expecting in life? Are we expecting a life where we're not going to deal with challenges? We daven every day, Rabbon Shalom, save us from challenges. But that's not what life is about. Meaning we say, Tatzilenu, Ativienu, Lo Lidei Nisayon, Lo Devi Zayon. Meir, wow. So David HaMelech teaches us a lesson, and we're going to visit that lesson in a minute. But first, I want to share with you a story that touched me. We had learned over here, Machon Meir, more than once. We learned Igeret Teiman, the Yemenite epistle, a letter that Rambam wrote to the Jews in Yemen when the Muslims instituted a forced conversion. So we learned Igeret Teiman, and in Igeret Teiman, the Rambam writes an interesting point. He says, Yeravam ben Nevat, the king who created the breakaway kingdom of 10 tribes, he's held accountable for every day that he didn't say Kriya Shema time, every time he didn't shake lulav. Yeravam ben Nevat led 10 tribes to paganism. He caused the greatest Holocaust in Jewish history. And when Chazal want to describe someone who is a chotei, a sinner, umachti, and caused the masses to sin, so the example of that is Yeravam ben Nevat. So Rambam writes, but you shouldn't think for a minute that just because Yeravam ben Nevat caused the greatest demise of the Jewish people, because he brought about that the 10 tribes would start worshiping idols. He actively forbade Jews from going up to the Beit HaMikdash, and he actively set up 2 idols, says the Rambam, but Yeravam ben Nevat is responsible for every single mitzvah that he missed. It's not like they don't count because he did something so great, so horrible, right? No, every time he missed a mitzvah, he's going to pay the price for that too. The person shouldn't think, well, I did these biggies, so the little ones don't count. It doesn't work that way. So I learned this once with a group of guys in a different yeshiva, not here, and I forgot about it. And then I was reminded of this when we had a Purim party. And at the Purim party, there was one student who I personally admired. This guy, when he was like 4 or 3, his parents died in a terrible car accident, and he grew up an orphan, and he was like, to my mind, a self-made man. Here's a guy who didn't have his parents, he didn't have a normal family life, and his siblings, he went from brother to brother, he grew up like that. And I pulled him out of the Purim party and I said, you're finishing your army service. Maybe it's time to start dating. And he says, nah. And I said, what do you mean? Why not? I'm thinking he's coming out of the army. He has no home to go to. It's time he built his own home. And he says to me, I'm a loser. I said, what? Here's the guy who, if I ever had to draw a winner, this is the guy I draw. And he says to me, no, I'm a loser. So I said, why? Why would you say that? And he said, well, you say I'm overweight. I said, so? So he said, so I'm a loser. So I said, but one thing makes you a loser? A guy who's conquered so many challenges in life, that's it? One thing knocks you off your feet? And I was in shock. And the Rebbe Shalom sent me a story that helped me out here. I got a phone call from a guy in the army, and the guy said to me, thank you for learning with us Igeret Teiman, the Yemenite epistle. I said, I don't remember. We learned it. Okay, good. He said, you don't remember? It's a game changer. I said, what spoke to you there? And he told me the following story. He was in the army. Everything was okay. And then one Shabbos afternoon, he walks into the tent and he hears a ping. There's an SMS that just came in, a WhatsApp message from someone. And he walks over to the phone, and 5 minutes later, he suddenly stands and realizes, I've just been SMSing on Shabbos. And he puts down the phone, and he starts thinking, I'm such a faker. I'm just not for real. Look at me. Look what I just did, Chil Shabbos. And a friend runs by the tent, and says, hey, mincha. He says, right, mincha. I'm going to go daven mincha. I was just Michal Shabbos. I'm going to go daven mincha. And he stood there thinking, like devastated. And this is where we'll pick up after we answer our pizza guy. Shalom.
Don't even
Shalom, shalom. אתם פה עם הפיצה? איזה יופי, אז אתה ליד הבניין?